Hello, everyone. I'm Lance Johnson from Vserv. Just to get a sense for who's in the room, how many of you are from the United States? From California? Okay, a lot of locals. How about from abroad? Okay, a few. Thank you. So a few things I want to cover today. Really three things, quite a few slides, but I'm going to go through them quickly. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. We also have several people from Vserv here today. And we have a booth here, so please drop by if you want more information after the talk. So first, what's really exciting for the industry overall is the wonderful emerging market opportunity. So I'm going to spend the first 5 minutes or so talking about that opportunity. Second, talk through a few of our ideas on how to go about winning those next billion customers, things we've learned from our work across emerging markets. And three, just a very brief summary, an introduction to Vserv. So this first slide, this is where we are today. The exciting thing about that to me is if you look at the number of internet users at 2.5 billion, and then the number of mobile subscribers, right, that's a huge delta. So over the next few years, that gap is going to close. And that opportunity is what we're focused on at Vserv. Asia Pacific and the BRIC is where the majority of those additions are going to come to mobile internet use. This is mobile subscriber base as of today. As you can see, Asia Pacific's over half of this total. So a huge number of the additions over the next few years are going to be in Asia Pacific and the other emerging markets. As I just said, over half of these new connections between now and 2017. So we're really looking at this as a 3-4 year opportunity. 2014, 15, 16, 17, these are all tremendous years of growth across these markets. In China and India alone, it's going to be over 1 billion new mobile internet users. That's more than US, UK, Japan, Germany, France, Australia, Canada combined. So this is from the famous Mary Meeker presentation. You know, everyone in the tech world looks forward to every year. I think the most exciting number on here is 23%, is the penetration of smartphones in these top 15 developing markets. So for us, where we're headquartered in Mumbai, India, you'll see that penetration is only 10% as of the end of 2013. This shows an expected growth rate of 2014 of 45% in India. That's the highest in the world. But you know what we're seeing is it's much, much higher. Yesterday in Bloomberg, I saw they're expecting over 200 million smartphone additions this year in India alone. So that growth rate is well over 100%. The other exciting markets on here for us, Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, South America, Latin America. Just now, traditionally device prices and data prices have been very high. You may have read that now in Mexico, American Mobile is finally having to deregulate, and as device prices and data prices come down, that's when you really see an explosion in growth, both in device sales as well as mobile app usage, data usage. So we think over the next few years, that's going to be a tremendous opportunity. Now, developed markets, very different story. Population penetration at 65%. So quite high, but it's not 100%, right? Being in Silicon Valley, you feel like everyone has an iPhone. That's not the case. Still a lot of growth. And for comparison, if you look at those expected growth rates in 2014, GDP growth in the United States is expected to be 2%, maybe 2.5%. So our industry is boom times. Even in developed markets, we think there's lots of room to grow. As I've said, these 4 regions, we love them: Africa, Middle East, Latin America, Asia Pacific. Eastern Europe also has a lot of these same characteristics. But it's not just devices. This is 5-year growth in mobile data traffic is the first number. So in Asia Pacific, that's going to go up 17x over the next 5 years. And the compound annual growth rate on mobile app user base, that percentage is going to go up by 40% in Asia Pacific every year. So also the app economy is booming across these regions. Now just a few slides on an infographic we just released. This transformation is already taking place. It happened at the end of 2012. accelerated in 2013, and it's just going to continue, where there's more internet users on mobile in developing markets than in developed markets. A lot going on this slide. What I think is really interesting is the age profile of these users. If you look at that, and you're going to be able to download this presentation if you want the data in more detail, but only 9% of the mobile internet users in India are 35 or older. In China, it's, what was that, 16? It's 84%. Southeast Asia, 81% are 35 or younger. Africa, 85%. Latin America, 73%. Or 35 or younger. So like I said again, the next 5 years in these places and beyond, we're very bullish on the opportunity for everyone in this space. Whether you're an advertiser, developer, publisher, this is where the growth is. And if you're a games developer, the good news is games all over the world are the most popular thing to download. China, tremendously popular, as you know. This is how Tencent has become a $100 billion company in the strength of their games. India is also very high. Middle East, Africa, Latin America. And then what we're focused on is the mobile advertising opportunity as an exchange. North America and Western Europe are growing very, very fast. And if you saw Facebook's results today, they're tremendous, huge mobile growth. It's now 60% of their revenue. So these CAGRs are very impressive. In emerging markets, right, it's up a much lower base. But over each year, beyond these next 4 as well, there's a lot of catching up to do, but a lot of growth if you can get in and get market share today. So that's the first section of the presentation. I think, as I said, this is a tremendous opportunity for everyone in the space, whether you're based here or Western Europe. Focusing on this market, these markets is where the growth is. So 4 things we've thought about at Vserv as most important when thinking about how to distribute your apps in these markets or how to generate new customers in these markets is, these are mobile-first markets. So these are places often, no TV, no PC. The first user experience for these users on the internet is going to be a mobile one. When I was at Yahoo, they called mobile the alternative devices group. And I was always like, you guys, this is not the alternative device. This is the primary device for most people. And that's definitely the case in emerging markets. So I think this is, when you're thinking about all the apps you can do, as I said, games, but this is going to revolutionize these regions and these markets, not only in communication and information and entertainment, but also things like healthcare, finance, women's health, poverty alleviation. The Economist is always hammering home the point that economic development and poverty alleviation goes hand in hand with raising mobile penetration rates. So that's another reason why we're so passionate about these regions and this opportunity. So 2, these are markets that consumers don't think only in English, obviously. American-centric view of the world, we all only speak English. Some exceptions to that, of course, but these are not markets that are homogenous. Culture plays a critical role, decision-making and buying behavior. As I said, English is rarely the primary language. Local content is key to connect emotionally with the users in these markets. Content on mobile web is increasingly getting appified. And this is not only on iPhone, right? This is predominantly Android. These are very large Android markets. Tons of smartphones at sub-$100 price points. This is how you're seeing 200 million smartphones sold this year in India. Local players are making strong inroads. Xiaomi from China is just going into India now. Micromax is a massive player in India. So it's, as I said before, in California view of the world, you think at least half the market's iOS. I would say iOS and iPhone's highly coveted in a lot of these markets, but market share is very, very low. In India, for example, iPhone market share is 1%, 2%, 3%. Android, massive, and what's growing very quickly, also due to Nokia's traditional strong footprint in these markets, is Windows. We're seeing tremendous growth, off what is obviously a very low base, but is becoming definitely the third ecosystem in these markets, and is really growing with the developer community. And fourth, carriers, operators. So I think carriers in the U.S. are almost a dirty word for people who have all these bad memories of what the walled gardens used to be like and working with carriers. The Wall Street Journal's Walt Mossberg called them Soviet ministries. Getting one deal done with them was like a 1,000-page contract. In emerging markets, carriers are our partners. They tend to be very flexible, and they're also essential partners in that these are markets with very low credit card penetration rates. A lot of the billing is done through mobile as well. Location information is comes through the operator. And one of our key products, which I'll talk about in a second, Smart Rewards. This is a great way for advertisers to engage with those consumers by gifting airtime, share, gifting data, gifting an app download, and we're seeing a lot of uptake with that. So again, I think these four things, you think about them when you're developing for these markets. It certainly helped us build our business in these four markets. So now just a few slides on Vserv, and then we'll go to questions. So Vserv was founded in January 2010. The two founders are still at the company as CEO and CTO. I think in a Facebook and Google world, it's very important that if you're going to survive, you have to be very focused, both geographically and on the product side. So we, as I've said 50 times, are very focused on emerging markets in those four regions. We also have very differentiated products, the App Wrapper, which I will speak about briefly, as well as Audience Pro. We're now over 200 people. When I joined about 16 months ago, we were 90 people, so growing very fast. Our main investor is IDG Ventures India. Right now we're at around 2.5 billion ad requests a day. A little over 80% of those are in those four regions. That's about doubled in the last 6 months, and we plan to double that again in the next 6, 12, and 18 months. We're touch 421 million unique users per month now across our network. This is also up from high 200s a year ago. We're gunning for 1 billion over the next 2 years. So we do have all of the traditional ad units, obviously. We have our own in-house HTML5 design studio. We do a lot with full screen ads, whether it's graphical, video, rich, traditional banner ads, native ads. Here's some examples of our award-winning campaigns with Samsung, Coca-Cola, Virgin Atlantic, and all of these markets, and I'll show you where all our offices are in a moment. We have local sales teams. So we don't have people just sitting in Singapore selling across region. We have people on the ground in Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam. So that's how we tend to monetize better than our competitors across these regions. As I said, the App Wrapper is something developers love because it's not an SDK you have to download and install. It just wraps the APK file in 30 seconds, full screen ad unit. As the app loads or on exit, you choose, very flexible. And in these markets, users tend to have a higher affinity and they're more receptive generally to ads, which is great if you're in the advertising business. But obviously it's not just about that. Today in 2014, you need to be much more focused, offer far more tools and features. So we do all those things, whether it's targeting by the OS, cross-screen, with location information from operators, contextual and demographic information we get from operators, retargeting. How we do that is our award-winning Audience Pro product, where we're working with Airtel, which is the third largest telco in the world. How that works is we get real-time customer lookup information, demographics, spending power, what's their mobile usage like. So if you're a Xiaomi coming into India this year, or a Samsung trying to win market share, we can show who's had a device for 11 months, who has an old Nokia device. We charge a lot for those ads, but as a developer, that's great. It's more flowing through to you. I mentioned the App Wrapper. In addition to the advertising, It's really a one-stop shop for all of your needs as a developer. We've partnered with all the leading companies here that developers in emerging markets may not be familiar with, whether it's Flurry, Criticism, BugSense. Those are all things you get with the wrapper. And smart rewards I mentioned, getting airtime share, getting a free app download from an advertiser. So there it is. These are all the markets where we have a local presence. As I said, we have a booth here today, and several of our team are in from Mumbai. So please stop by and let us know how we can work with you. And please, if you have any questions, I'll take those now. Thanks a lot. Yeah, good question. I think it's more, I think it's better understood as getting all these services in one click. So it's, as I said, developers like it because they don't want to get an SDK from 10 different networks, 10 different exchanges. The wrapper simply wraps the APK file. So the benefit of that is it's very straightforward ad units before the app loads and on exit. And you can customize that. Maybe in some markets, you're doing a lot of in-app purchases. So in those markets, you don't want a lot of advertising. Others, you do. So it's very flexible. And then we've partnered with, if you're a developer in the Philippines or in India or in Nigeria or Kenya, a lot of these markets where we operate, you may not know these awesome services that Flurry offers, or Criticism, or BugSense. So those are all offered with the wrapper, and you can just check the box and get those analytics with us. Great question, though. UAE? Oh, user acquisition. Sure. So we're an ad exchange. So half our business is working with developers and suppliers on the supply side, great publishers, over 25,000 apps. The other half is demand side, with advertisers and DSPs who want to do user acquisition or branding. So, roughly 60 people globally are in our sales team doing user acquisition. So we do predominantly brand and performance on mobile browser as well as app. On the app side, and in terms of OS, we're much more Android on CPI than, say, iOS. And then we're probably the #1 partner globally for Nokia and Windows on their campaigns. So that's, on the acquisition side, I'd say, we do far more with Android than iOS.
All right, we have time for one more question. Is there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay.
We've
Thank you very much.